Can you make money on Kindle? Who should publish books on Kindle? And why should you try? By Ken Jabert at thekindleguy.com. I recently watched a YouTube video on the question of whether you can make money publishing on Kindle. Like, there's seriously a question, right? The Kindle Unlimited bonus alone pool was over $10 million last month, and that money will go to Kindle writers. Case closed. You can make money. In a way. The YouTuber had her own axe to grind and was probably addressing some specific get-rich-quick promoter. Fair enough. But the danger anybody trying to dispense common sense faces these days is that so little of the world operates on it. Plus, so much common sense is just excuses dressed up in their Sunday go-to-meeting clothes. And it was in this way mainly that the video I watched was such a miserable example. She said, if you're going to write for Kindle, you should write fiction rather than nonfiction. You shouldn't write an ebook if you didn't get A's in English and composition in high school. You shouldn't write for Kindle if you can't or don't like to write. You shouldn't write for Kindle if you can't or don't like to read. You shouldn't write for Kindle unless you'd be happy to do it without ever making a single sale. She actually said that. This video is going to introduce some real common sense into the discussion, not dressed up mediocrity. Let's start with what was valuable about the other video. She was basically telling people who don't have anything valuable to say not to expect to win the lottery on Kindle. I wish I could wholeheartedly endorse that idea. It certainly makes sense. Unfortunately, I can't forget about 50 Shades of Grey and its progeny. I believe the author of that book has now made over $1 billion on those things. And I gotta say, their merit is debatable. Or who, having heard it before, could forget about, whoop, there it is. I'm not sure I ever heard the name of that song, but I think that those were the only words in it. Whether or not the band got famous, they made plenty of money for a couple of summers anyway. Sometimes things that aren't very good do indeed make a lot of money. We all know that. It isn't common sense to pretend it isn't so. But is that the way you want to live your life, looking for random luck? That's another question. The platitudes about English composition, being good at it, and liking reading and writing are, again, superficially sensible. The problem is, as Henry Ford noted 100 years ago, brains can be bought. You can get someone to write an ebook for you. Now, why you would do that we'll go into in a minute. The other big piece of advice our intrepid YouTuber offered was not to publish an ebook unless you would be satisfied with not making a single sale out of it. That is actually insane, and it points to the big point that I want to make. The other YouTuber seems to have forgotten it. Writing is not publishing. It's a big mistake to equate the two things. They are not, in fact, equivalent. You should write if you like to write, whether you're good at it or not, maybe. And reading is widely reputed to be good for writing, although there may be some room for argument over its actual necessity. But writing is not publishing. There are different motivations and skills for publishing than there are for writing. You see, writing is about making something up and getting it down on paper. Publishing is about something else entirely different. Why would you publish? Let's start with the most altruistic and work our way down to the crassest and most material things. It makes us feel purer to do that. Although there is precious little basis for distinguishing them, in my opinion, in real life. Publishing occurs when a person communicates to another person. E-publishing occurs when you do it electronically. Altruistically, you could do that to make a positive difference in that other person's life. That could be your goal. And you will make a difference in that person's life. Drum roll, please. If they read it and pay attention, if it speaks to their needs, and if it conveys value to them by hook or by crook. If those things happen, you can make a positive difference in their life. If they don't, they're not going to pay any attention to you, right? And that's whether you like to read or write, and regardless of how you did in high school. Possibly regardless of how well the thing is written, too. As a matter of fact, a lot of times, they say, a good appetite is the best chef. We aren't talking about randomness here. We're admitting that the reality that people buy books for their reasons and not necessarily for yours or for ours. In this scheme of things, how much you like to write, how well you write, what grades you got, and how you feel about anything at all mean absolutely nothing. Does it matter how a guy is feeling when he digs a hole? Not if he digs it right. His feelings fade from the equation. What if you want to make a political difference or advance your professional career? You follow the same rules. You speak to someone who's paying attention, speak to their needs, and convey value. It may be that doing these things is more likely if you read and are a good writer, but it's a mistake to confuse ends and means here. If you can't write, you probably shouldn't be a ghostwriter, right? On the other hand, you might hire one. But now to the insanity that says don't write an ebook unless you'd be happy if no one bought it. Wrong. First of all, you don't write an ebook. You write a book and publish it on Kindle. You publish an ebook. And publishing it is all about getting other people to read your book. Don't publish if you'd be happy if no one buys it. By definition, that's just wasting time. If you're publishing and want to be read, you have to be willing to do something that most Americans seem to have fallen out of the habit of doing. You have to identify a need and offer a cost-effective solution. You have to offer real value as defined by your audience to your reader. And you have to figure out how to let them know that that's what you're doing. If you can do that, you can make money on Kindle. If you can do that and your audience is large and can afford what you're offering, you can make a lot of money on Kindle. That's the plain, simple truth. Although not necessarily the only one that matters. In the next video, we're going to start discussing how to do it for our ebook that talks about this and gives many more ideas on how and why to market your book. Check the About This Video section. Till next time, write on.